Misfits, before we jump into today's episode, I want to share something very special with you. After hosting over 450 episodes of The Misfit Entrepreneur and sitting down with some of the world's top founders, investors, and high performers, I started to notice something. Different industries, different backgrounds, different paths, but the same patterns kept showing up. So I distilled those patterns into a short, powerful guide called The Misfit Code: 21 Uncomfortable Truths from 450 plus entrepreneurs. This isn't motivational fluff, it's not theory, and it's definitely not the recycled advice that you hear everywhere else. In fact, it's a fast paced, practical playbook that you can read in one sitting and then apply immediately to help you execute better, raise your standards, break through to your next level. And if you know you're capable of more, or you feel like you've outgrown where you are, or if you're tired of knowing what to do but not executing consistently, this guide was created for you. You can download it for free right now by going to misfitentrepreneur.com/truths. That's misfitentrepreneur.com/truths. Grab the guide, read it in one sitting, and then come back and work through one misfit truth per day. All right, with that said, let's jump into today's episode. Hello, Misfit Entrepreneurs, and welcome to another episode of the Misfit Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Dave Lukas, where it is our job to help you unleash your inner misfit and break through to higher levels of success, wealth, and fulfillment by bringing you the best insight and information from the world's top entrepreneurs with a specific focus on their misfit side, the specific traits, habits, and secrets that have allowed them to thrive and succeed. As a reminder, if you're new to watching us on our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button below. Give this video a like and comment as well. We do our best to respond to all comments as timely as possible. This week's Misfit Entrepreneur is Frank Sell. Frank is the founder of Get Shit Done Coffee, one of my favorite names ever for a business, and the driving force behind Home of the Hustle, a platform and community built around discipline, personal responsibility, and taking action to create the life that you want. While most people followed the traditional path out of school, college, that safe career, Frank knew early on that route wasn't for him. So with just $100, a VHS tape, and no mentors or handouts, he bet on himself, he hit the streets, and he learned through relentless hustle and real-world experience. And since then, he's built multiple six-figure businesses, a brand centered around action, accountability, and rejecting the victim mindset. His message is simple but powerful. The American dream is still alive for those willing to take ownership and do the work. And I'm excited to discuss how he did all this, figured it out, built from nothing, and what it really takes to create your own path. So let's jump in. Frank, are you ready to unleash your inner misfit?
As they say, I'm ready to get shit done.
Well, it's awesome to have you on. And you have just an awesome entrepreneur story. So take 5 minutes or so and just tell us, how did you get to where you're at?
Yeah, so part of it was just natural surroundings. My father was self-employed, small one-man truck repair shop. And like you said, growing up back in the 1900s, we always heard, get a career, get an education, get a trade. So I knew that education was not a good investment for me in the traditional book sense. I hated sitting down in school, couldn't see why I needed to be there. So I learned how to weld in high school in Vo-Tech, and the last job that I had, I started Valentine's Day 1994, employee 5331. And so I was 18 years old, and they had a 30-year retirement program. It was the dream that I was sold growing up by my father, that's what I should look for in life. Things were good until they weren't. And shortly after I started that job, they sold the company. And, a lot of times when companies get bought and sold, they just kind of move the peanut shell game around, change benefits, stuff like that to try and make it look a profit. Well, they changed the retirement to where I had to work until I was 55, no matter what. So I realized then, that maybe my rose-colored glasses were broken, and what I was sold wasn't actually what was going to happen. So I didn't want to wait till I was 50 and then have the rug pulled on me again. So I knew some guys that I live in central Kansas, the tornado alley, storms, hail damage. And I knew some guys that fixed hail damage on cars. They made really good money. And my thought process was really simple. It was just working with metal, and my hands are really smart. And I've already proven that I'm not afraid of hard work. I was a welder for almost 10 years at that point in my 20s. And so, like you said, I bet on myself. I bought a $100 VHS tape to teach myself how to fix hail damage on cars. Bought some used tools. It took about a year to kind of train myself. And then March of 2003, I just volunteered for a layoff. And as the saying goes, I beat the damn streets so hard, I swear I get a bill for the potholes.
So from that point, though, all right, so different than coffee, though. So, like, how did we get to coffee and home of the hustle and all that stuff?
Yeah. So that's just maturity and going through life, as I call myself a leader, the king of my household. And I realize that, if I break this, if you're on the audio on videos, if I break my pinky, I can't use my hands to earn a living. And so in all responsibility, I decided that I needed to figure something out. I hadn't been able to put enough money aside for investments, for, whether it's real estate, whatever it was, for retirement down the road. And so I thought, well, the next best thing is, to start a brand or e-commerce. It's a pretty low barrier of entry, but the ceiling is almost unlimited. So I started a Facebook page called Home of the Hustle, where, just like we're doing here, I would interview marketers, people in branding, e-commerce, people that had the information that I didn't have. I would bring them on the show, and that helped me build a network of people that knew what they were doing, but also helped me build an audience of people that believed in our story, but also they wanted to learn themselves. And so I never really had a way to monetize the Home of the Hustle page until after I started my first brand, which was Baby Beard Club. It was a beard oil that I noticed in beard oils. The first time I used, we made our own beard oil. I used it. The first time I used it, I slept really good. So I just asked what happened. Well, it was the essential oils. I was like, well, nobody markets the therapeutic effect of essential oils. It's all fake machismo, like whiskey barrel this or tobacco that. So started a beard oil brand, had a nighttime beard oil help you relax. I had a daytime beard oil help you focus and concentrate. That was called Get Shit Done beard oil. And so that taught me a lot about just the branding and the e-commerce side. And then I was doing a podcast kind of like this one day with another friend of mine. He's a very successful 8-figure, like Amazon, Walmart seller. And he just loved my Walmart or my $100 videotape story. And so it really kind of dawned on me. And about the same time, it was just circumstance. I had met some guys here in Wichita, Kansas that have a co-packing company. They can coffee for themselves and they can coffee for other people. They're cool dudes. So I was buying coffee beans from them. They bought beard oil for me. And I had ordered some stickers to give away with the beard oil that said "Get Shit Done." And so I'll show you on the YouTube here. I had stickers laying on my desk and I had coffee. It's kind of like the Reese's peanut butter cup, story of, joining the two together. So I put a sticker on a bag of coffee that said "Get Shit Done," but it had Baby Beard Club on there, and posted it on Facebook. And because I had this Home of the Hustle entrepreneur audience, several people were like, "Dude, are you selling Get Shit Done coffee? How do I buy that?" And so I just put stickers on it, sold them the coffee I had sitting there, called my friends, said, "Hey, can I private label? Can I sell your coffee as Get Shit Done?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, that's what we do." So that's where it all came together, and that's how it happened.
So, Frank, I love that. It's like you just take an initiative right now. Hey, I'm going to slap this on a coffee bag that I got. You're going to get it shipped out. And, that's the beginning of the business, right? And to that point, you've built multiple 6-figure, larger businesses really with no experience or mentors or anything like that. So, like, for you, like, what are the first principles that you use? Like, when it's time to figure out, right, with no roadmap, a new business, like, what are the things that you go to that you rely on to help you get going, figure it out, and make it happen?
Yeah. So I think there's a million roadmaps out there from just the example of somebody else has already done it. And so I think one of the biggest things that I've seen from just telling my story, and that's one thing I've noticed about our brand and our product, is that I'm not selling coffee, I'm selling my story. And people really, really buy into the idea that they can do it too. So like they see us positioned, like they may have an idea of like an Andy Frisella or somebody like that is like super successful, 9-figure businesses. And they can't believe, they can be there, but they can believe that they can buy $100 videotape and go, go try something. So one of the things that I've seen, and one of the things I really believe in, is that too many people wait for validation or permission. They think they have to have the business plan all put together, when to me, one of the number one things is that you have to have somebody willing to hand you money for your product or your service. once that happens, then you can adjust from there, and you can change things, refine things, and then grow and scale things from that point.
Yeah, I love that because I've always said like nothing happens until something gets sold, right? So like all people spend so much time on like perfecting the website or all these different things, right? Where like you just got to find out if somebody's going to buy it first. If somebody will even buy it, well, then you can go there and stuff. So I think a lot of times people do it in reverse. Like they build the whole business first, but never sell the product versus like see if there's a market, somebody will buy the product and then build the business around it. I think that's a key thing for entrepreneurs, especially those that are like starting out to think about. In fact, with that too, you talk about things like you mentioned earlier, like beating the streets, right? So, like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you define like what that is today and what is hustle today, right? Because I know a lot of people that work really, really hard, but don't necessarily make any money either.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just hard work, right? It's there's other things to it. So, I guess I guess where do most people misunderstand what real hustle actually is in today's?
I think one of the things is clarity on what do you really want. Um, not necessarily just the money. What does your lifestyle look like? I was at a deal called Million Cups. They have them all across the country where entrepreneurs get up for like 5 minutes, tell your quick story, and then a Q&A afterwards. And they had one in Wichita, Kansas. And I was at that event, and this young man, after I spoke about the coffee brand, he asked me what he thought. I'm sure it was like a really intelligent question about like what was my exit strategy or my exit plan. And I was like, hell, bro, the only plan I got is, is to kiss my wife under all the stars and all the beaches of the world and ride dirt bikes with my kids. That's my goal, to be able to have a lifestyle and have an income, profit, cash flow, just different ways to think about money, to provide a lifestyle. So number one is figure out, what the hell do you really want? But number two, then is find out who has your money. Like old Cardone says, who can I contact that can use my product or service? Then contact them, get a hold of them, find out who they are. When do they show up? What's a good time to be there? And then go see them, and then repeat the process until you get the business, or until you get a no. And even then, don't take a no personally, because I've had personal experience. I walked in when I first started the hail damage business. I would drive around in my little Astro van. I'd open the yellow pages, see the body shops, the car lots, the dealerships who I had to go see. And one particular body shop in my small town, at least once a month, I'd stop in. Hey, I'm Frank Sell. I started my hail repair business. Let me know if I can help you. And I didn't read the room one day, and I was really busy. And dude's like, no, I don't need your help, and don't come back again. Well, it was sometime that year. He sold the business to his kids, and the following year there was a major hailstorm in town, and the guy that they had been using to do the repairs, he couldn't cut the mustard. He couldn't do the repairs. So the kids called me, said, "Hey Frank, can you help us out?" So I fixed a car that he couldn't finish, and there was a storm, so there was multiple cars, and there was well over six figures of business just from not taking a no personally, and just saying, "Hey, no problem. I'll catch you later."
Yeah, that's a great point. You also said something at the beginning that I think is so true. And I think people that have listened to this show for a long time have heard me say it, but most people don't get what they want because they don't know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And most people never take even an hour to sit down and like just with pen and paper and like figure it out, like write down what you want and challenge why you want it to get to what it truly is for you. A lot of people a lot of times will be like, well, I want it's a number, right? I got to have 5 million or 10 million or 20 or whatever that is. Is it the number or is it the lifestyle? And that's kind of the other thing that you said, right? You just want to ride dirt bikes with the kids and do that stuff. If you can do that on 200 grand a year, great. If it costs 5 million, okay. Well, it's just figuring that out and then understanding like what it really takes to do that and building the cash flow for it. And to that, I guess as an offshoot, because it's part of it and it's important, really important with it. It's one of like things that I've said for a long time. And, it's a big pillar for you. You're big on rejecting the victim mindset. Most
Mm-hmm.
people are not victims. They play the role of the victim, right? So what's the shift that someone needs to make to like truly take ownership of their life, their future, and ultimately their destiny?
I think that's like a pretty deep rabbit hole, and it kind of fits into my philosophy. Something I had to ask myself, and it was kind of a come to Jesus moment, literally, and figuratively when I accepted Christ in my life. And I looked at my results in life and how we got there and realized, I participated in all those results. And so I had to stop and ask myself, whose thinking am I thinking? And so that comes from, realizing that, my parents raised me, the people that I grew up around, my work environment, my social environment. And I never took responsibility to own my own mindset and own how I truly feel and stand for those things. And so, like you're saying, I had relationships with extreme narcissism and different stuff like that. And when you have a relationship with somebody that has it's a narcissist, then they're experts at being blame throwers. I call them, and it's a victimhood of always creating a victimhood. Um, so at the end of the day, I just looked at it. So I'm here to participate, and I'm here to observe life and try to understand, what's my role in this, and then just simply kind of dissect it that, okay, yep, this was my fault. Nope, this was their what they brought to the table. I can't fix that because that's their responsibility. I can only fix me. I can only change me in this dynamic. And then after that, I have to respect and honor myself. If I say I've fixed these things and long term my actions have proven that, then I can't allow the other stuff into my life, because then I'm just participating in their delusion. But really, at the end of the day, you just have to kind of take, like I said, not take things personally, but look at it. Did I do this? Is this my fault? Is this my responsibility? There's a really good book called Man of Steel and Velvet by Aubrey Adlin, and it taught me that one thing. If I'm the king in my household, if I'm the leader of my house, my family, my business, there's a lot of stuff that may not be my fault. But if I'm the leader, then it's my responsibility to fix it and then make sure that doesn't happen again. And that's either through a conversation and grace, and allow somebody to grow, or if they choose not to, then hey, sorry, you just can't participate in my life right now.
Who's thinking you're thinking? I love the phrase. There's a lot about mindset. In fact, I want to dig in a little bit more about that. First, we're going to take just a quick break. We'll be right back, and we'll do that. Misfit entrepreneurs, I want to tell you about an amazing resource that will have tremendous impact on your business and your revenue. I have used this solution in multiple businesses, and it has made an incredible difference. Let me start by asking you something. Do you know how much it costs your business when just one salesperson doesn't step up to deliver? Do you really know? The cost can easily exceed six figures for just one bad hire, not just from the time, effort, and resources in hiring them, but from the lost business and downtime as well, as you have to go find a new salesperson and everything surrounding that. And the last thing any growing business can afford is to have a failed hire, especially in sales, the revenue driver for the company. But what if there was a way to know someone checked all the boxes of a great sales hunter and closer before you ever hired them? That's the solution that I found from a company called Sales Drive. They have created a solution called Drive Test. It's a powerful hiring tool that separates high-performance salespeople from pretenders by measuring the most critical personality trait needed for success in sales: drive. Drive is composed of three non-teachable traits shared by all top producers: the need for achievement, competitiveness, and optimism. And knowing who has drive before the interview dramatically increases your chances of selecting salespeople who will produce for you while avoiding those costly bad hires. I've used the solution and it works. In fact, it works so well, I've referred them to every company that I work with. And they've created a very special offer so that you can try them for free as well. You can get a free drive test assessment today at www.misfitentrepreneur.com/sales drive. That's misfitentrepreneur.com/sales drive, all one word. Start using the drive test in your hiring and never hire a bad salesperson again. Who's thinking you're thinking? Like, to me, that goes to conditioning, right? Because it's somebody else's thinking that has been conditioned into you. I mean, literally the time you're born. I say this all the time. We come out of the womb with a clean slate, but the thoughts we have, the habits, a lot of the things that we build, the patterns in life come from a lot of influences we have: parents, family, friends, media, culture, school, religion, all these things. And a lot of it's good. but we can pick up some things along the way that can be debilitating to our success or hold us back. So, from what you've learned, like how do people identify and remove the limiting beliefs, the things that are holding them back that they didn't even realize that they have?
Yeah, so I kind of went down the rabbit hole on this, whether it was from the Bible, it talks about sins of the father, sins of the son. Nowadays, epigenetics is really popular in energy transfers. I even listened to the whole audiobook of Dianetics, of Scientology stuff. And so it's all down to the energetic programming. Our parents, most of the times, they didn't stop to understand, what do they really stand for? Who's thinking or thinking? And by the time we're 7 years old, we've got most all of our social programming, whether it's relationships, money, our work ethic, whatever it is. And 99% of everybody does not intentionally grow beyond that. They just repeat that same pattern until they die. So how do you recognize that and fix that? Number one is look at the patterns in your life. And to me, God loves us so much. He provides every circumstance, everything for us in the way that we need to hear it. And I'm pretty hard headed, so I've got to get hit on the head by 2x4 usually. But I've gotten better at trying to listen to the whispers. But it's the patterns, the things that keep happening in our lives. So why does this happen in this relationship? Oh, well, that's the way my dad talked to my mom. Oh, that's the way the guys I hang out with talk to their wives. Why do my kids do this? Oh, that's the way I was raised. I grew up, I came home one day and I busted out my front teeth when I was a kid on the pavement riding my bicycle. And dad, only sympathy that I got was, looked like you knocked the dirt off your lip, huh? So, I had to kind of grow beyond that. And, because I have a wonderful wife, my soulmate, and I want my kids to learn empathy and sympathy and be able to relate with people. So, I took it upon myself to go out and find the knowledge, whether it was books or mentors, whatever it was. The information's out there. You just have to be willing to ask the questions and do the work.
Yeah. I guess I think somebody listening that hears that and they go, okay, I get it. Yeah, I've got this stuff that, is kind of keeping me in the, this direction of these habits and stuff, but I don't know what to do.
Mhm.
Right. So like if somebody's listening and they're sitting there and they're like, they feel stuck, right? They're maybe just unsure where to start. What's the first step you would say they should take to begin building momentum and get out from underneath these things that are holding them back?
I would say make a list, take some time to sit with yourself and to recognize your patterns and point out the problem. Because if you can't speak the problem, you don't know what the problem is, you're never going to answer or fix the damn problem. So take some time and, make a list of like the things I love about my life and the things I want to change about my life, the things that I don't like, I want to keep happening and keep holding me back. So figure out what those things are. And then you can just, a lot of times I'll Google or I'll go to YouTube and or like this podcast, I'll look for something and say, okay, I'm having troubles with relationships. Well, holy crap, there's books out there like Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And another note, if you're a student, you can write on the inside when you start the book. On the back cover, write the day that you finish the book so you can keep yourself accountable. So there's number one is just make that list. Don't trust your mind, write it down, make a list. And from there, that'll open up the experience for answers to come in. Cause once you point them out, now once you seek, it is given.
Yeah, awareness is the catalyst to change in anything. You talk about the Bible, what you gaze upon, you become. So, like, it's really important for people to understand too. Like it was repetition that got you to these points, to where these automatic habits and things happen. Like, I mean, most people don't think to do a lot of things. You don't even think. You don't think to drive a car. You don't think to throw a ball. You don't think to even converse with people. Really, in a conversation, just happens, right? Where does that come from? And it's that repetition, that conditioning over time. So once you start and you make the decision to not be run by that and to choose the conditioning you're going to put in to run it, then it's repetition, right? It's not like you just make the decision and it's done. It's repetition over and over and over again every day, right? That
Mm-hmm.
you've got to do. And it, like you mentioned, reading a book, right? Reading a book is going to spur some of that, but you got to keep going. You got to do the next step. You got to start putting things into action and start to cement it. And then over time, those habits get replaced with the new ones and so on, right? It's a long game. It's, it's something that you've got to do your whole life, right? And so that's the other side of it. And part of the issue for people is they're just not willing to do it. And that's, that maybe goes back to that victim mentality and things like that we talked about earlier. And I think
It's a
that's,
4-letter word, work.
yeah, exactly. So it's you got to do it, and if you want it bad enough, you'll do it. If you don't, then you really didn't want it anyways. So last question for you before we get to your Misfit 3. You talk about the American dream, and you say that it is still alive. There's a lot of people that say it's not alive anymore. So what does that dream actually look like today? And what does someone need to do to go and get it?
Yeah, it's just the simple basics. What do you want? And then start doing the research to get there. So like for me, the American dream, what I've noticed is that, when we were busy, when we were focusing on what's in front of us, we didn't have time for all this propaganda that is out there now. Social media it's amazing opportunity. It's awesome, but you really have to be disciplined and not let it distract you. So it's obviously social media has helped us grow our brands and do some of the things that we've done. It's a great way to tell your story and get it out there, but you really have to guard your mind and guard your heart against the propaganda and what they want to push upon us. So really, it's just the basics. You have to know what you want, and then find a niche, find something that really fires you up, and then just make that list and get after it. I'm sorry, it's that simple.
Find something that fires you up, make the list and get after it. It's awesome. It's you know what? Maybe that's the title for the episode, right? So, and it's a great place to end it before we get to your Misfit 3. And we're going to do that. We're going to take just one more quick break. Be right back with Frank's Misfit 3.
Misfits. People ask me all the time about tools that I use in my life and business to maximize my success. I usually start by telling them one of my most powerful tools is my morning habits. And of course, they look at me somewhat confused. I then explain how important it is for me to center myself and how I begin my day and plan for my success. It's critical to consistent high performance. And it doesn't take me long, about 5 or 10 minutes, because I use a great resource called the 5-Minute Journal. The 5-Minute Journal is the simplest, most effective way I've ever found to start your day in the right mindset, doing the right things, and set yourself up for success. And it is exactly what it says, a 5-minute exercise you can do each day. Let me ask you, if you could reach your next level in your life and business by spending just 5 minutes of focused time a day, would you do it? I bet you would. And I know it works because I've experienced the power of it. And you can get your 5-minute journal simply by going to www.misfitentrepreneur.com/journal. That's misfitentrepreneur.com/journal. Do what I do. Use this amazing resource to give yourself an edge in your performance and your success. Get your 5-minute journal today.
Okay, it's time for Frank's Misfit 3. These are the 3 things that he wants you to take that you can put in your life, your business, make a difference for yourself starting today. And the way that I always frame this to every guest that comes on the show is I say, hey, look, if you're going to leave this earth tomorrow and you could only leave behind your 3 best pieces of wisdom for the generations that come after you to help them live their best life, what would those 3 things be? So, Frank, what are your Misfit 3?
Number 1, have grace and forgiveness with yourself. Because I look at it, there's 4 levels of knowing things. You don't know what you don't know. You know what you don't know. You know what you know, and you don't know what you know. So that means that in the beginning, you didn't know. And it's called a blind spot for a reason. And so once you do know, then that's your responsibility. So you have grace with yourself in the beginning. You didn't know that. Fine. Now you know. Now it's your time to take action, get shit done. And so the first 2 steps of you don't know what you don't know, you know what you don't know. So then now you have an action step. So you go from grace and forgiveness to yourself to responsibility. Okay, I want to change this. I want to fix this. I want to grow this. So then you're going to take action. You're going to find a book. You're going to find a mentor, or you're just going to try it. You're going to buy your own $100 videotape and beat the damn streets. So then the third thing is that audit. Go back and check what worked, what didn't work. Look at your goals. Look at, where they're at. I don't necessarily like, I like have like a 5-year, 10-year plan, but working shorter term. Things can change in those, that's such a long time that really the day to day, the week to week things are what builds those long term goals. So number one, have grace and forgiveness with yourself. Learn how to love yourself. That was really tough, for me, because I would see all my highlights and my mistakes, and just really, if I talked to you the way I talked to me, we'd probably have an issue a long time ago. So then grace, forgiveness, and then figure it out what you want to change. Make that list. That's number 2. Number 3, take action and audit. Don't just take action for action's sake. Take action, check the results, check with a mentor, check with somebody that has results, not your knucklehead buddy that is at work on his 5th divorce, or, what I'm saying. Check with people that have results and a mentor, and just repeat that, that step. And as you elevate yourself, the first step, it gets finer and finer. It gets harder to see those things, but that means that you're just moving at an elevated pace and elevated height. And so give yourself the credit and grace to say, man, this is working. I've done the damn work. I'm pretty proud of myself.
Frank, that's an excellent Misfit 3. And number 1 is so just important for everybody in life. Most of the time, the person that we need to forgive most is ourselves. And so having that grace and gratitude towards that is extremely important. So excellent, excellent, excellent. If people do want to learn more about you, where should they go?
Yeah, they can look me up, Frank Sell, SELL, on social media, or just go to our website, homeofthehustle.com, and /podcast. We have a little offer for everybody, a discount on our coffee, and then a little download of the 5-step to list of knowing what you want, the list, contact them, see them, and repeat a little bit of more in depth on that as well.
Excellent. We'll link to all that in the show notes for the episode. The best in the business. No offense, for reasons I will talk about more in a second. But first, for those of you that are new to the Misfit Entrepreneurs, your first episode with us, welcome. It's such an honor to have you with us. And I hope you become a regular listener, subscriber, watcher of the show. And for all of you Misfit Entrepreneurs that are with us week in and week out, I cannot thank you enough for your support of the show. You are what makes this go in over 100 countries each and every single week. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And make sure and go out and check out the show notes for the episode. They are the best in the business. Why? Because I do them myself. As part of my personal growth routine, my habits, I go back through these episodes and I pick the best pieces of wisdom and insight and things like that from great people like Frank, and then I share them with you. So go check those out. And then go out and give this episode a rating and review. Like and comment on it. Help share Frank's message, because we all know, I say this in every episode, one great episode can change someone's life. Maybe something that Frank shared today was that missing link you were looking for to get to your next level. So share this with others. And again, Frank, thank you so much for coming on, sharing all your wisdom and insight today.
It's totally my pleasure. I'm honored to share.